I couldn't believe it hadn't been adapted yet, because it lends itself brilliantly to TV, I think.
You get any further on the Cayman Island account?
Yeah, but last couple of years, Pelicano South properties have sorted away north of £5.25 million.
I think the appeal of this will be the writing and the characterization, hopefully, with everybody pulling together and Russell Lewis doing the scripts. Then hopefully we'll find some kind of alchemy and it'll be appealing and we'll be able to make more. It's a fascinating character, you know, it's like a brilliant detective who can't solve the disappearance of his own wife. And he's obviously tried everything. So he's haunted by that and he's very, you know, he seems like a lonely guy. When we meet him in Dead Simple, he is at a very low ebb. He's under investigation. There's a court case going on. The people upstairs are very angry with him because he used a medium in a case.
After the last time, why? What were you thinking?
Glenn puts him on a dating site, makes him go on this disastrous date.
Too much? Police. Detective Superintendent Grace, DS Branson, Brighton CID.
They're colleagues, they're friends, they've worked together before. Grace has been stood down from duty until Glenn Branson asked for his help.
We're doing a bit of the old Grace magic. For old times?
They've been friends a long time, and he knows about his missing wife. Visually, it's very striking. It's all neon and burnt out piers and the roaring sea. Well, it's not often you see things filmed in Brighton. It's a lovely place to visit, and it's been a lovely place to film. The first story, Dead Simple, is about a stag do that goes wrong, and the groom goes missing on the stag night, and it turns out that they've buried him alive as a sort of a stag night stunt. And then, unfortunately, they're all involved in a car crash and they all die. Looking Good Dead is about snuff movies, particularly harrowing storyline about people being killed and filmed on the dark web. So it's quite a dark story, and he has to get to the bottom of this strange company called the Scarab Corporation, who leave a scarab beetle at the scene of the crime. I think what makes Grace different is the source material. It's such a rich well of source material from Peter James, and they're all proven bestsellers, and they're thrillers, and they're successful in their own right. And although a book is very different to a screen adaptation always, I think it's a good premise to have that. It's you know, the source material's really quality, and also it has to be said, Russell Lewis, the scriptwriter who did Endeavour, which I love, actually. I do watch that one. So he's, you know, the quality should be high unless we all mess it up. I got the call about it, and I hadn't read any of the books, and my agent said these books are really famous. They're huge bestsellers. Peter James. I was like, yeah, it rings a bell. And so I just popped my head into Waterstones, and there it was in the top 10. And I thought, oh, yeah, I recognize that font. I recognize those books. So I read the first two, and I was completely hooked. They're very clever. He's very clever how he hooks you in, and they're short, sharp chapters with a cliffhanger at the end of every one. So I just thought it'd be, I couldn't believe it hadn't been adapted yet, because it lends itself brilliantly to TV, I think. They're colleagues, they're friends, they've worked together before, and obviously Grace has been stood down from duty in a way until Glenn Branson asked for his help. They've been friends a long time, and he knows about the wife, and he just wants to help him. And he also wants to get him back to work because he's an excellent detective. Grace is completely married to the job. He's just a career copper, and that is his life. And I think Glenn and Ari, his wife, were friends with Grace and Sandy, his missing wife. And they're trying to drag him out of this sort of pit of despair. Not that it's affecting his work or anything, but he just literally is just obsessed with the police work. He doesn't do anything else. He's got nothing else in his life whatsoever. So I think they're trying to get him back into the real world, and Glenn puts him on a dating site, makes him go on this disastrous date that he's not really interested in. So yeah, Glenn's just trying to help him, really, as a friend, really. Well, the relationship with Vosper is different to the relationship he has with Vosper in the books, because in the books they really don't see eye to eye at all. In this, we've decided that they were friends, they were colleagues, but she's placed in an impossible position, really, having to reprimand him, and he's not helping himself because he does it again in Dead Simple. He goes to see the medium, Harry Frame, and he's caught doing it by a press photographer. So again, he's in hot water with her. So she sort of feels like he's betrayed her a little bit. But having said that, she knows he's really good at his job and appreciates that. And it's quite a fun dynamic they have. He's obviously friends with Harry Frame. I think they've been friends for a long time. And he's obviously tried everything. I think he probably turned to him in desperation. Having said that, he also used him in this case. It's the Hassan case that I was talking about earlier. So when we meet him, this case is ongoing. And Harry Frame obviously helped him solve it. So he told him where a body would be found. So Grace, when he explains to Glenn Branson about Harry Frame, he said, it's just an insurance policy. I don't need to use it, but if I need to, it's just good. I feel good having it in my pocket. He explains in court when they ask him about it that it's the duty of the police to try everything, and that I think that's what he believes. And because Harry Frame has come through for him, not about his missing wife, obviously, but he has come through for him. He uses him again. I think it's desperation. Cause, I mean, we're trying to find a missing girl, and it's it's like, why not? Let's just try everything. I think he's an interesting character, and they're very exciting, sort of fast-paced police procedural thrillers. The thing I think that is unique about these books is the attention to detail. The police stuff is famously in Peter's books absolutely bang on. And so I was very attracted to that, thinking, well, we're not just going to be running around like headless chickens. We're going to be pretty close to reality in the police work. So, like, for instance, it's not like life on Mars. There's no supernatural element to it. And so I was really intrigued about the character. I think the character's he's not like a hard drinking cop. Still waters run deep with him, I think. Intelligent thrillers where there's a case to be solved, I think, are always attractive to readers and viewers. I guess people just into solving crimes and the macabre, I guess, is why people are into serial killers and they're interested in reading about Dennis Nielsen. And to solve the crime along with the detective is always, I guess, a fun thing to do. Since Sherlock Holmes, you go along on the journey with the copper and hopefully work it out as you're going along. And they're thrillers, aren't they? And they're always popular, I think. I think the appeal of this will be the writing and the characterization, hopefully, and the fact that it's a tried and tested formula because they're best-selling books. With that behind it, with the fact that these Peter James books are international bestsellers, and with everybody pulling together and Russell Lewis doing the scripts, then hopefully we'll find some kind of alchemy and it will be appealing and we'll be able to make more. To be honest, I've enjoyed absolutely every second of this job. I don't know how much of that was we came straight out of lockdown to do it, so obviously I just feel incredibly blessed and lucky to be working. But also it's just such a fascinating character, and they're great scripts and they're great stories. And we have found some kind of alchemy because it's a lovely set to be on, lovely people, and everybody seems to be very good at their job. So it's been a real joy to work on, and it's gone really, really quickly. So, gentlemen, please tell me the significance of the ginger fox, which is where we are.
Dale and I have a tradition of creating each new Roy Grace novel in a pub. I moved to Henfield in 2011 and we found this gem of a pub. Each book has a theme, and that's our starting point. Sometimes I come up with the theme, sometimes Dave comes up with it. It might be something we've read in a newspaper, something a police officer's told one of us, or something from Dave's experience of his years as an SIO.
Peter arrives with the little black book, which is empty, possibly not even a title of the story he's thinking about, but he'll have an idea of what it's going to be about.
And we start off basically by plotting the 3 high points in the book and the end. We always kind of know the end. It may change, and probably half the books I've written, the ending has changed because I thought of something better when we get there.
Some of it is fiction, but we wanted to make it some of it believable. I mean, I came from a police background. My grandfather was a police officer. My father was a police officer. So for all those years growing up, I was used to that sort of life.
I'm sitting here with my original career model for Roy Grace. I'm sitting here with the Roy Grace I imagined inside my head. And then I'm sitting here with a man who's totally charged with bringing Roy Grace alive to millions and millions of viewers around the world.
We needed to build your character to have empathy with his team, his work colleagues, the job.
He's not a cliche in any way. He hasn't got a terrible alcohol habit. He's a decent bloke and he's very calm and he's a very good copper.
When I first met Dave, and he was a top SIO at Sussex CID, this was a guy who was not only kind of very calm, very empathetic, but also really bonded personally with the loved ones of the victims. And I think you portray that so brilliantly on the screen.
Your jacket? Would you like it back?
Oh, right. Probably not.
Yeah. It was a kind thing to do, covering her.
Well, John, you know that Peter and I have done the easy bit with getting the books to this stage. You've got the hardest bit now of actually turning the fiction into fact. How's that gone? Have you enjoyed that?
Oh, it's been a dream job for me, simply because the novels, you've got so much to work with. That guy's life is not just in one book, it's in, how many now, 17 or something?
Just finished the 19th.
19 books, so I'm on 13 now, viewers, this is where I am. It's been great for me, and we were supposed to meet earlier, weren't we? I was going to go out and go out with the police, and thankfully I have played police officers before, so I have done that.
But watching you play that's been great, because I've been sat watching you on set, behind the scenes, and you're almost doing it exactly as I would like you to do it. So it's actually happened by osmosis rather than by meeting up.
Yeah.
I could not be more thrilled, genuinely thrilled to bits, because you actually embody everything that I think is Roy Grace.
That's great.
And that's incredibly exciting. And I think Dave and I both feel excited, because when I'm writing the next book and we're planning it, the fictional Roy Grace inside my head has now morphed into you. I had the title Dead Simple. I just loved the title Dead Simple. And the title of the second book just popped in my head, Looking Good Dead.
Here's the price.
And that came out, and then we started getting emails saying, oh, is this going to be the Dead series? And I thought, well, people are quite liking this as a kind of brand. 19 books, how the hell do you remember which is which? Think of any other author that you like. I don't know, think of, say, Lee Child or Michael Connolly. How many of their titles can you actually remember?
No, you're right. It makes it unique.
So did he do it?
Well, he didn't ask for a lawyer, but did he kill his wife? I don't know. So do you come up with the title before, or do you halfway through think this one's going to be called Love You Dead? Or, you know,
Mostly we don't come up with a title before. I mean, with Picture You Dead, Dave came up with that almost on day one.
Yeah.
Boing.
Right,
And we wrote it down and it stayed. One Peter's writing at the moment hasn't got a title.
Well, I guarantee that Dead will be in that title at some point.
Oh, yeah.
In the course of theoretically reviewing all the cold cases, Pew immediately gravitates towards the cold case about Roy's missing wife. And that is the root cause of a now sustained dislike for each other, because I basically reopen the case.
He digs up the whole thing with his missing wife by, in this episode, literally digging up his garden.
What the hell is this?
I assumed you had okayed this.
Who requested the warrant?
I was cleared of any involvement in Sandy's disappearance, exonerated.
Not to the standard that we would have applied in the Met.
Grace feels guilty that, as good a detective as he is, and he is a really good detective, he can't solve the disappearance of his wife. Also, when you get Cleo Morey coming into the mix, it adds a different element. The premise for Not Dead Enough, the team investigate the death of a wealthy socialite in Brighton. Sorry, Madam Police, this is
Grace, is it? You called it in?
Yeah, Roy.
Cleo Morey. I'm the on-call senior anatomical pathology technician.
You're new.
To you?
Grace had an unexpected meeting with a pathologist called Cleo Morey.
Do you want to go for a drink?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Okay, 2 minutes?
The last thing he is expecting is to fall in love. He's still in a dark place about the disappearance of his wife, and the whole thing comes completely out of the blue.
When you first saw the script and saw that there was stamps involved, did you think that was going to excite the viewer?
Yeah, well, exactly. How are you going to make stamps interesting? The fact that they are, you know, there are some priceless stamps. I mean, there was a lot of money to be made. And the fact that they can be transported so easily. I mean, surely, you know, the customs people reading your book will now be nicking a lot more people trying to do that, you know, smuggle stamps over.
Yeah.
All okay. No afraid. All okay.
You don't know these people. Who they are, nothing.
What would you do, Marcus? What would you do to save her?
One of the things in Dead Tomorrow that I wanted to do was create a moral dilemma in which everyone who read that book would say to themselves at some point, what would I do in this situation?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the heart of the whole story, isn't it?
The starting point for Dead Tomorrow was when I was at a dinner party and I sat next to a documentary maker called Kate Blewett. And she turned to me and she said, how much do you think you're worth? As chemicals, probably about 50 pence. I said, how much do you think you're worth in body parts? I said, my body parts probably not that much. She said, well, she said, you know, a healthy middle-aged adult worth around €1 million in body parts.
Wow.
So you can get 350,000 for your heart, lung, probably 50 to 100,000 each kidney. 3 people die every day in England waiting for a liver transplant.
I love you. Human organ trafficking in this country.
There's a common theme throughout all the books, is the research, because we hope that then adds to the stories and gives you something decent to play.
In this episode, there'll be a lot of scenes taking place on the water, out at sea. That was a challenge for cast and crew.
One of the things with Dead Tomorrow is that we had scale. Like, we had to go to the big dredger, we had to go to the biggest sites on shore and port. We had to then go out to the sea, we had to use drones.
This is a professional, organised team. We need to find them, we need to stop them, and we need to do it fast. Nothing beats walking on set and seeing everybody again and, you know, the old team. It's just really familiar. It's like a big family, so it's really lovely. We have got this gift of these hit best-selling novels that are best-selling novels for a reason.
I come for answers. I'm not leaving till I get them.
The first episode is Dead Man's Time. It was an interesting one because they're solving a cold case. The reason the case comes to their attention is because there's an assault on an old lady, and it's really quite nasty.
Smallbone put this team together, I have no doubt, so we need to find him before he leaves Brighton.
But it turns out that it's this old case about this missing watch and a murdered father.
My pa was taken on the 6th of April, 1964. 60 years ago to the day.
So it's not your usual run-of-the-mill case where there's a body, there's murder, and we find out who did it. This is literally digging up the past. It was quite a cerebral story and actually quite emotional, I think.
The path is closed! There's been an accident!
Episode 2, Want You Dead, is the magic episode about a magician who ends up running rings around the police. It baffles them for a while until, obviously, Grace's mind gets on it and they work out what's going on. But it's all about illusion and magic and murder, obviously. Episode 3, You Are Dead, was actually one of my favourites when I first started reading these books. This is the episode where we meet a really very dangerous and psychotic serial killer. So it's a good one.
Oh, Eric. What's going on? Eric? Are you okay? Have you been stung?
Episode 4, Love You Dead, is about a female serial killer, a black widow who is murdering older men, marrying them and murdering them for money. But she uses really interesting ways of killing.
So how and where did Shelby Stoner get himself bitten by a snake?
We have to try and trap this black widow before she disappears, because I think her modus operandi is that she murders 2 people and disappears. And so when we realise that's about to happen again, they're forced to set a trap for her, which is quite interesting because we have to use one of the team as the trap.
Sorry, Madam Police, this is
Grace, is it? You called it in?
Yeah, Roy.
Cleo Mori.
You're new.
To you?
We met on the beach over a corpse, didn't we? There were all these stage directions where we had to catch each other's eyes. But every time we were actually together, there was a body there. It was like either in
They
like...
could only flirt over corpses.
Yeah, so we flirted over corpses. So it was quite a macabre relationship at first. And there was just a spark, wasn't it? It was great.
Well, thanks again for this.
Yeah, I'll see you again, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And there was a brilliant stage direction, actually, that said when she asked him, so do you want to go for a drink? These are the times where your whole life rests on this answer or something like that. You know, it's like a world-changing
Pivotal moment,
yeah.
yeah. Look, do you want to go for a drink?
Yes.
They're just grown-ups, and they just liked each other immediately and just went, let's do it. But
The spectre of Sandy loomed large in their legend.
Cleo very soon realised that it was going to be a problem in the sense that he's haunted by it. You can't be free to follow this new path if that's still not been completed, that part of your history. I just keep thinking, what if she walked through the door right now? Where does that leave you and me? There were a couple of moments that she sort of tried to call a halt to it and said, I think you need to sort this out. I think you need to get your head around it before we can move on.
The last thing you said to me was, call me when you get through with all this. And that's what I've been doing.
But having said all this, if it wasn't for that ghost of Sandy and that obstacle, it'd be a bit boring for the viewer. You need it. You need the spectre of
jeopardy.
Some darkness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's been great, actually, that she was still around.
Have you thought about ingestion?
So, like, Eric swallowed the wasp.
You can safely say that Roy and Cleo take their work home with them.
They're not jobs that you can leave, you know, you've 9 to 5, you clock off, you don't think about it, you go back in the next day and start again. They're both professionals and they're both really emotionally invested in whatever they're doing. And they're usually both on the same case. So, of course they're going to talk about it because it consumes them.
I hope you'll find to say you remember to feed my fish.
I'm actually calling to ask what could cause kidney failure in someone young.
You old romantic. I love those moments, actually. The sort of domestic meets the professional, and actually when they are in the mortuary or at a crime scene and you see that sort of professional side to them, they are, you know, in their own roles. The fact that they discuss the cases is a really lovely part of their relationship, I think.
I think that's why they're strong together, because it's not just a personal relationship, it's a professional relationship as well.
I wasn't expecting to see you here.
This series, they're moving in together. You see Cleo showing her pregnancy and Roy proposes to her. So it's all kind of happy days to begin with. Actually, the very scene after he proposes, there's a knock at the door and Cleo answers it only to find a burning pram. And that's really obviously shocking, and that, I think, really strikes fear into Roy particularly, doesn't it? Because he thinks, oh God, now I've got to protect my family.
This series will satisfy the viewer's need for this storyline to find some sort of conclusion, because obviously we can't spin this out forever. It has to be resolved and there has to be some finality in it.
Some emotional closure.
Yeah.
Let's face this together.
What is kind of satisfying for me as an actor, but also for my character, is that they are now enough of a team to realise that he doesn't have to do it by himself. So Cleo very much stands by him, takes his hand, and they go in to face the demons together.
And of course that is going to be dramatic and exciting in the way it happens, and there's far more secrets to come.
Marcel's found Sandy.
And so it obviously doesn't end with a bow tie on it. It's Grace. So there's a big revelation. Even when you think you've got it, the rug is pulled from under your feet. Alvin Smallbone is a recurring character. He's an old foe of Grace's, and Grace really doesn't like him. We finally get enough evidence to pin something on him. We bring him in, but even though we both got him in the lift, he managed to escape. So there's a really exciting chase scene. We're very lucky on this show to have Nick Gillard, who's one of the greatest stunt coordinator in the world, who worked on all the Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Alien, and you know, we are so lucky to have him. So we're always in good hands when it comes to the stunts.
Transfer £2 million into an agreed account by the end of today's match. Otherwise, an explosive device will detonate on the final whistle.
Reports of a bomb threat at the stadium. We need to go.
So we start off the new season literally with a bang. Roy is taking Bruno, his son, to a football game. And unbeknownst to him, there is a bomb threat.
Calling all units, west side, 103 block, female, 20s maybe, dark hair, ponytail.
It's literally a ticking time bomb. They're racing against the clock. It's a pretty nail-biting opener.
The premise for this story is based upon the whole concept of the deep fake.
We think you're the victim of fraud.
And it's all about, you know, AI technology with this guy who's scamming all these people.
Armed response unit to lock up 114 at Hollingbourne Industrial Estate.
They did a great job, the art department, for the lair of the perpetrator. It's all really high tech. This is a new kind of crime, so it's the first time they've ever had to deal with anything like this. So we're investigating OCG activity, which is organised crime gangs. I think this is a great episode because it's a little bit like No Way Out. They're trying to find out who is behind all these things. Well, it turns out that Cassian Pugh has been committing these crimes for quite a while. It's a really incredible set, actually, because it's got all the scaffolding, because they're rebuilding it. Yeah, you get the big confrontation between Grace and Cassian Pugh. I don't think he could hate a human being any more than he hates Cassian Pugh by the end of this episode.
Just over 2 years ago, my team became aware of a new source of high-grade cocaine flooding into Brighton and the surrounding area. The Merchant. I need a name.
So the final episode, Find Them Dead, is essentially a courtroom drama, which we haven't done before, and they're trying to find a very shady character called the Merchant, the head of a drug smuggling ring.
Not guilty.
Grace suspects that one of the jurors has been lent on by the criminal gang.
Meg McGowan, I think they've got to her too. She was sweeping her house for bugs last night.
He does some things that are very, very out of character for Grace. He gets a little bit obsessed with it.
It's right, she didn't see me.
Are you out of your mind? If you're not careful, it will be you that's destabilizing this case, Roy.
It's quite a complicated episode, but it's a really gripping courtroom drama, actually. I think it's a great way to end the series. It's obviously left on a cliffhanger, so it leaves you wanting more. Hopefully we'll start filming that very soon.